Hello and welcome to the Oddschecker betting show. I am your host, George Elek, and I'm delighted to be joined by Andy Holding as we look ahead to what we hope will be the international meeting at Cheltenham on Saturday. We're recording this on Thursday afternoon. There is racing scheduled on Friday at Cheltenham. But Andy, as it stands, we're unsure, shall we say. Hopeful but unsure.
Yeah, I think Friday's got a 60-40 chance of going ahead. Those odds are not quite so favourable on Saturday, given the forecast is for a little bit more colder weather to come down from the north. Got this Arctic blast, haven't we, that's coming in from Scandinavia. So, it's in the lap of the gods. Hopefully we can get it through. They've got all the covers down. They've done everything they possibly can. So we've just got to, keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We're going to, as I say, go through this as if everything will be okay. So apologies if it dates fairly quickly. And as I say, because we're recording this on Thursday, there's not much point going through Friday's racing because by the time it goes out, it will be dated very quickly. So we're going to go through Saturday's cards at Cheltenham, starting with the 12:40 because the 12:05. We do have prices for the 12:05, so we can go through the whole card here. Before we do, just going to, as ever, encourage you to download the Oddschecker app where you can find the best prices, bookie offers, free bets, place terms, and Andy Holding's tips straight to the app every single morning of racing. So do go download that now and you can follow along with us as we go through the card on Saturday. Kicking off with the Triumph Trial Juvenile Hurdle over an extended 2 miles where Nusret is the 6-4 favourite ahead of Scriptwriter at 100-30, Perseus Way 4-1, Jackpot de Choiseul 10-1, Maidaf 14-1, 20-1 bar. Those a few here that haven't had a run yet, Andy, but a few that have, and this is often where your speed figures can really come into their own. So what do you make of the market as it's kind of taken shape over the course of today?
Yeah, it looks about right from where I'm sitting. We have got the Summit Juvenile Hurdle though at Doncaster on Saturday. If that's on, I think obviously that'll have an impact on who goes where. I think the further north you are, the chances are they've probably got fewer chance of going ahead. So if Cheltenham's off, then I think Doncaster will be, if that makes any sense. So let's deal with it as if they're all going to run. And if they do, then I think Nusret is the right favourite. I love the way he won first time out. He had a good deal of proficiency. We knew he was a good horse in the flat. His flat form was very good. He translated that to 8 flights of hurdles. Got better as the race went on, jumping wise. Was good when he needed to be at the last 2. And once he jumped the last, he scampered clear and won in a fairly decent time. Loads more to come. I think Dale Jacob really likes him. So does Joseph. And, he doesn't waste many bullets when he comes over here, Joseph. Remember, he won a Triumph Hurdle trial with Akir Duduris back in the day. So this looks an ideal opportunity for him to swerve some of the big Irish guns and see how he's pitched in against the best we've seen so far on these shores.
Would you be getting involved at 6-4 or too many unknowns?
Yeah, because I think this track will really suit him. I think the longer new course in relation to the old course, which is on the inner track, will help him because he's a big, long striding horse and he takes a while to get into top gear based on his run at Fairyhouse first time up. So that long run from 2 out to the last should allow his flat speed to kick in and perhaps outstay Scriptwriter, who I don't think is as good as him. I think the danger could be Perseus Way, who's ran an extraordinary race first time out for a big priced horse in it behind Scriptwriter. I think he's got a good chance of turning the form around. Now his jumping's become a little bit more clean as it was at Leicester the other day and a bit of a romp. But either way, I do think Nusret will enhance his prospects as a Triumph Hurdle horse, currently best price 20-1 time recording.
On to the second race on the card then, and a 3-runner affair in the Novice Chase. You kind of do feel like even though the field sizes aren't that big, they still could cut up further. But Monmiral is the 4-11 favourite here ahead of Kissesforkatie at 7-2, Art Approval 10-1. An opportunity this for Monmiral to get off the mark this season, Andy, and should do so.
Yeah, should do. I think connections have already worked out that he's not an Arkle horse. He got obviously outpaced by John Bond at Warwick. He did nothing wrong. He just, was up against a horse who's a deserved favourite for the Arkle itself at the Cheltenham Festival next season. but he did more than enough to suggest he's going to be a potent force, perhaps over further as the season progresses. So stepping him up to 2.5 miles. A distance, of course, he was very proficient over hurdles. This, like I say, does looks like a bit of placing by connections. Nice ground. Hopefully there won't be too much low sun, so we get all the obstacles jumped. If he puts in a clear round, he should really be good enough for Kissesforkatie. Albeit, Kissesforkatie's now mugged. She finished second to Pic Dory, didn't she, 2 runs ago? And Pic Dory went on to win the good race at Huntingdon the other day. The Peterborough Chase. So, she's like I say, she's not a million miles away ratings wise and form wise away from the fab, but he has got a lot of scope, Monmiral, and I imagine that they'll want to make the running with him and make plenty of use of him.
Yeah, that 4 to 11 with Hills, not too much to get excited about. So I'll move on to the third race on the card, which is the Handicap Chase over 2 miles, where Editeur de Gite is the 11 to 4 favourite ahead of Gumball at 9 to 2. Time White 11 to 2, Dolos 6 to 1, the Widowmaker 13 to 2, Third Time Lucky 8 to 1, 10 to 1 Prince Escalus, and then 33 to 1 Us and Them. 8 runners as it stands, Andy. A bit more of an open affair, a bit more of a betting heat, it looks to me anyway. Who do you think is the value at this stage?
I think Dolos is the value. I respect Eddie de Guy, who ran a nice race first time out, finishing third over the old course. Arguably, this course suits him better, which he proved when he won this race last year. So he's obviously defending his crown. But I do think Dolos has been given a chance here. He's now for a mark of 147, which is more than workable. There's a really good run behind Grenadine in the Holden Gold Cup. Thought Grenadine didn't, precious little wrong in the Tingle Creek the other day. Just got beat by a very good horse, as we know, in Edwardstone, but he beat Shiskin fair and square. So there's no real reason to suggest that Dolos took a backward step. He's really good on good ground, this fella. And he doesn't mind Cheltenham. I think he's probably better going right-handed. Maybe Sandown suits him best. But he's got some solid form at Cheltenham in the past. And with the Nichols team flying, at 6 to 1, I do think he represents probably that value bet in that race. He's certainly one of the class angles in it, put it that way.
Yeah, 6 to 1 Dolos. That is with Coral, 11 to 2 with others. As it stands, 8 runners. So you could back Dolos each way at 6 to 1. But beware, because it would be a surprise, I reckon, Andy. If racing does go ahead, it might be a surprise if all 8 do turn up on Cheltenham. At Cheltenham on Saturday afternoon. On to the December Gold Cup, the Handicap Chase. Plenty of well-treated looking horses in here, but Il Ridotto is the 9 to 2 favourite ahead of Stolen Silver at 6 to 1. Fantastic Lady is 8 to 1. Warlord 8 to 1. Frero Bamboo, same price. Simply the Bets 12 to 1. Dayran de Kayak is 12 to 1. Coconut Splash 12 to 1. Soul Pretender 14s, Fugitive 16, Sea of Blue though as short as 8 to 1 in places, 20 to 1 bar those, 15 run as it stands. Hills and Skyback both paying 5 places. How do you see this?
Well, it's always considered a rerun, isn't it, of the Paddy Power Chase at the previous meeting, although one track perhaps suits another, and the new course maybe offers up different tests for certain other horses and they come into their own. So we don't always get back-to-back winners in this race. We've got several refugees out of that contest a few weeks back to certainly consider. The likes of Stolen Silver, who's still not a busted flush when he went at the third last. Obviously, Rodito's favourite. He was 4th behind Garlaw. But I probably want to be looking elsewhere. I do think there's one overpriced there, George. I don't know what price you've got about Fern Hill from the Ben Case stable.
20 to 1.
20 to 1, that's a big price. I was really impressed with this lad the other day at Uttoxeter. It was only his 6 run over fences, but he jumped well off the back of a very strong pace. And I love the way he hit the line as well. He had lots more to offer at the finish. Good ground really suits him as well. He'd run well the time before, beyond a subsequent winner, nothing to ask. And Ben Case, he's probably still considered as being a fairly small trainer, so he's always going to be underestimated. But don't forget, he's had Cheltenham Festival winners before. He had a back-to-back winner or dual winner of the Grand Annual. And generally speaking, he's also in good form as well, including this fella. So at 20 to 1, I think he's probably one of the most overpriced horses on show here in that competitive-looking handicap.
20 to 1 Fernhill. That is with Bet365, who are paying 4 places. If you want the 5 places, Sky Bet and Hills both 16 to 1. They're about Fernhill, the big price fancy there for Andy in the December Gold Cup. On to the feature race on the card, the International Hurdle, the Grade 2 over the extended 2 miles. And Epatont looking to bounce back from that humbling defeat to Constitution Hill. 6 to 4 to do so. I like to move it 15 to 8. Nappers Hill 14 to 1. First Street 15 to 2. Zophanian 100 to 1 outside of the field. And if John Bon is the case study for what you do after you get beaten in green and gold by Constitution Hill, then this should be a cakewalk for Epatont, shouldn't it?
In theory, yeah. I still don't think she's absolute force of old, even though she's a Grade 1 winner last season in her own right. She got really pushed aside by Constitution Hill the other day with that bad mistake at the third last, of course, not helping her. But, she's up against 3 improving horses here who have both sort of worked their way up the ranks from various sort of sources. I like the way I like to move it's going forward. He's a very, very likeable horse, that fella. And he's winning the Great Wood has got to be respected. He's a course winner as well. He's won over the new course, so he does like Cheltenham. Nappers Hill, of course, he was good last time out at Wincanton, beating Sco Royale, who's always a fair guide with regards to UK 2 mile form. But I do like First Street. I think he's the one to be with here. He was a good second to state man in the county hurdle last season, so he's got course and distance form. He was really good, I thought, when he won the Jerry Fielding the other day. That was a strong pace that day, and in typical gritty fashion, First Street saw the trip out really well. Basically, he's a high cruising speed horse who likes the track, who still comes here on the up. I still think we've got more to come from this fella. And at the prices, he makes certainly the most appeal to me. So could be a bit of a shock here with First Street. And I think he's going to put himself in the, let's say, the conversation for as a champion hurdle outsider after the weekend.
Yeah, First Street, you're not the only person, I don't think, to have had that thought today, because 15 to 2 is with Bet365, but Paddy's have cut to 5 to 1. 11 to 2 with Unibet, Betfred, all blue on oddschecker. So there are people, unless it's all you, Andy, others agree and are backing First Street here.
15 if that's 15 to 2 still available, it's just, he's never going to be that. I mean, I'd make him about a 7 to 2, 4 to 1 shot. So yeah, he's a big contender, because the numbers that we've got, even at their best, even Epatont at her best, First Street is right up there time figure wise, with all his runs in those good handicaps, the grade he ran. Don't forget he ran well in the Grade 1 last season. He's right up there, First Street. He definitely doesn't want to be underestimated.
First Street 15 to 2. There you have it. Will Epatont be beaten by a stable companion again? Let's hope so. On to the 3 o'clock now, the penultimate race on the card, the Albert Bartlett Novice Hurdle, where again we've got some interesting novice hurdlers here, and 2 at the top end of the market. We've all been caught is the 6 to 4 favourite ahead of Outlaw Peter at 15 to 8, Thomas Moore 4 to 1, Grand Soir 10 to 1 best price with 10 bet, but as short as 6 to 1 elsewhere there, and that is a big outlier, that price. Max's Champ and Accidental Legend 100 to 1 and 125 to 1, those 2. So who comes out top of these ones, Andy?
Well, you've all been caught. You could argue sets a standard, because he's already got placed in a graded race behind Hermes Allen over the old course at the last meeting, but he's up against 2 really nice horses. I like both of these. I love Outlaw Peter, always have done. He's got a touch of quality about him, and I think he's going to be a real stay. I think he is an Albert Bartlett horse. I think that's where he'll end up at the end of the season, without a shadow of a doubt. He'd be the one I'd be with at the prices. I think 7 to 4 is not a bad price for him. But I have got a huge amount of respect for Thomas Moore as well. He was in the process of beating Last Royal quite easily when that horse tipped up. I think it was at the second last. He's all about stamina as well, and he went through that race at Wincanton like a good horse. Like I say, his feature of his round was his cruising speed. So I think the Pike team have got a very good horse there with Thomas Moore. So I think this is a bit more wide open than the market suggests. I personally have Outlaw Peter favourite, even though he's second in. He'd be my number 1 choice. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Thomas Moore was the prize package of the race.
Outlaw Peter 15-8. That's with William Hill 6-4 market price. So they are taking a bit of a view there. And Thomas Moore 4-1 across the board. Andy's 2 against the field in that 3 o'clock. And the final race on the card, if we get there, hopefully we do, is the Mayor's Handicap Hurdle. Where Theatre Glory is a 3-1 favourite ahead of Martello Sky at 5-1. Lady Adair also 5-1. Nina the Terrier 11-2. Indefatigable 15-2. I Aspire Diva 9-1. 22-1 bar those. Andy, 10 run at the moment. Who's your pick in the last?
Yeah, Theatre Glory really. I think she's probably got the best profile. Unfortunately, we lost her in the Jerry Field hurdle when she unseated her rider, but she was well fancied that day, so she's obviously fitting well and fresh, raring to go. She won over the C&D towards the back end of last season, beating a good field of mares. She likes good ground, stays the trip well. I think she's only course the distance to winning the field as well, which is an angle I like. So yeah, I'd make her my number one choice. I do think the bottom one, Branson, Missouri, is an interesting contender. Rising through the ranks and winning a couple of races at Worcester. She ran at Lingfield the other day, and she just didn't jump well on the heavy ground. She definitely chucked her chance away by a couple of sloppy leaps at a crucial moment. But ultimately, she ran really well in defeat. It wouldn't surprise me back on better ground if she was to outrun her odds for small connections. Whether she's quite up to the likes of Lady Adair and Theatre Glory, any time will tell. But she's in the 20-1 bar category by the sound of it. So she might be worth
Who is that?
Branson, Missouri?
Yeah, 22-1.
22-1, yeah, exactly. I mean, look, you can have a round of drinks on that at that price. You're not going to do too much damage. But yeah, Theatre Glory for me would be my number one.
Theatre Glory 3-1 with a few firms there, and 22-1 for that round of drinks with William Hill. Best price for Branson, Missouri. That brings our very.
Although a round of drinks nowadays at Cheltenham it's not to be sniffed at, is it?
Make sure you don't stick the gas bill on, eh?
Oh God, yeah.
That brings our very quick preview of Saturday's racing at Cheltenham to a close. Hopefully we do get racing at some point over the weekend somewhere in the UK. Make sure you wrap up warm and get on the sofa and watch it if you can. Thank you very much to Andy for taking the time to talk us through his fancies and share his insight with us. Do download the oddschecker app where you can find all of these best prices, bookie offers, free bets and Andy's tips straight to the app every single morning of racing. Have a great weekend. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. We'll be back again soon with another oddschecker betting show previewing the weekend's racing. Hopefully there won't be any more ground concerns or weather concerns and we can just concentrate on the racing itself. But go well and do please ensure that you gamble responsibly.